that's my Suzuki GS 150. Uh, I just thought I'll probably tell you something about this idle RPM, which is quite a big nuisance every time I take the bike for a servicing. So, as per, it's like idle RPM is like when your bike is just on neutral and idling. So, the engine is still revving at a particular speed. It's not engaged, so the bike is not going to move anywhere, but still the engine is, how do you say, firing, and the piston is still moving up and down. So this has to be at a particular RPM which is already set by the company when you get the bike. uh, if you sort of increase this idle RPM, then it's more fuel which is going into the engine, and basically when you like not running the bike, as in when the bike is just idling, in that case the more fuel is being consumed. um, Again, if the fuel is too less, as in during the idling RPM, if the fuel injection is too little, then there is a chance that at a traffic signal or while waiting, like sometimes you got a phone call and then you just go on the sidewalk, not sidewalk, I mean side of the road, and then you're just taking the call. So during these moments, there's a good chance that the bike engine may stall. It'll just come to a stop, and basically you should keep this within a range. Uh, the the manufacturer's manual says that it should be between 1300 or 1500. Uh, by the way, this is a warm engine idle RPM. This is not cold. So, for example, right now we're just like in the parking. So if I need to switch it on, it's okay. Wait, let me switch it on. So you see, this is oh god. Yeah, okay, now you see. So this is close to 9. Sorry for the, yeah, now it's clear. So you see, this is close to maybe 950 or 1000. I mean, because this is not digital, so you can just interpret it, but it's a little less than 1000. So this is the idle RPM, which is in cold condition. And I'll switch off the bike now so you can hear me properly. So that is the idle RPM right now, but that's the cold, because now the bike is not running. Warm engine RPM, idling RPM would be after it has run for maybe 1.5 to 3 kilometers. Then is the real, how do you say, the RPM, which would be that would be the actual RPM. But right now it's cold. So one more way to sort of tell you about this is here. So if you just throttle the accelerator, the cable you would see comes, you just watch these two cables. So when I am throttling, so these cables are the one which are sort of positioning how much fuel should go inside. Now if you see, there's a screw here. I'm not sure if it's very clear. Okay, you see there's a screw here. Now this is the idling RPM adjustment screw. So when you turn this clockwise or anti-clockwise, you have to see the whole thing is this. When this screw moves up, this sort of goes in a way, I mean, you can just like think about this, that when you throttle, the more you throttle, the more this side goes up of the lever. So essentially what that means is, when you are throttling, the higher it goes, the more fuel is injected. So what you can do is, when you close this screw in a clockwise direction, so this screw goes inwards and this thing goes higher, that increases the flow. So what I've seen during servicing is, these guys, okay, during servicing the bike is definitely there for 4, 5, 6 hours. So once they finish the servicing, they sort of want to check for this idling RPM, which should be 1300, 1400. What they do is they straight away start the bike before the test ride and they adjust this higher. So what now has happened is that your bike cold idling RPM has been now set to 1300, 1400. What that does is when the bike is really warm, like 1.5 to 3 kilometers later, bike, when I say bike, it means the engine. The engine is cold, engine is warm, the bike is not getting hot or cold. So 1.5, 2 or 3 kilometers later, when the engine is now really warm, that time this idle RPM, which should be 1300 or 1400, now becomes 1800 or something like that. And what it does is it just increases your fuel consumption, brings down your fuel efficiency. And I mean, normally, if you're not very particular, you would not notice this too much, but this can actually result in maybe 5 to 6 kilometers per liter diminished efficiency, which is quite a lot for me. I mean, I really am very particular about this, and I can get anywhere between 50 and 55 mileage per liter of petrol. Normal petrol, not this high efficient or turbo or I don't know what. Just normal petrol gives me around 50 to 55. So what I do is, once the servicing is done, and this is one thing which I really look after, because idle RPM is really sucks up a lot of fuel while waiting in the traffic. I'm in the city called Bangalore, and it's sometimes it's very traffic can be a big nuisance as well. So idling around at a higher RPM than required, you don't really need that. So I usually adjust this to maybe cold idling RPM between 950 and 1000. Hey there, thank you so much for watching. In case you liked the video, please do subscribe. Also, if there's a comment or any feedback or a question that you have about the video, please do post below. Thank you.